Hi, I'm Christie Clarkson, Marketing Specialist at Power Factors. Today I'm talking with Will Troppe, our Director of Product. We'll be talking about data trust, why it's so relevant to renewable energy, and what trust looks like. Will has been with Power Factors since 2015 and leads our asset performance management product line. Hey, Will, great to have you here. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Christy. It's great to be here and to talk about a topic, data trust, that I'm really passionate about.
Let's start with the basics. What is data trust?
Great question. So let's start with just trust, right? Trust is a feeling. Trust is hard to build and it's easy to break. The burden of proof is on us as the data platform to prove that we deliver trustworthy data and insights to our users. Often, the customer's equipment is what's actually causing distrust. A sensor broke in the field or got miscalibrated. Even in these instances, the burden of proof is on us. It's on the customer to resolve the issue, but it's on us to help them identify, investigate, and act quickly to resolve those types of issues. It's our responsibility to deliver trustworthy data to our users and to empower them to verify that we're worthy of that trust.
Data trust is particularly relevant in renewable energy data. Why is that?
Renewable energy data systems are big data systems. They exhibit the 4 V's of big data. That's volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. Volume is about how much data, velocity is about how fast, variety is about different types and sources of data, and veracity is about how true, how real the data is. At Power Factors, we aggregate, standardize, clean, and normalize data from clean energy facilities around the world. Each of those steps requires significant domain-specific knowledge in order to do right. And the result, if we do it right, is a valuable data set that delivers trustworthy insights, trustworthy events, trustworthy reports, and trustworthy KPIs, all at scale. Now, because many clean energy systems are remote on warehouse rooftops, commercial rooftops, in the desert, under sometimes pretty harsh conditions, issues can occur. Sometimes those issues occur with the data pipeline, and data is late or it stops flowing regularly, computers are rebooted, issues happen. We always deploy interfaces that store and forward data whenever possible, but even with appropriately designed networks and the right interfaces and data connectors and right-sized buffers, issues still happen sometimes. We aim to recover gracefully in all instances where those issues occur. We want to handle late data well, and we want to handle it automatically without the need for a human to independently accidentally stumble into some bad data that causes them to ask the question and then ultimately fix it themselves. We want to push to the human the need for their intervention by exception already as part of their standard workflows. If they go to run a report, they should be able to see by exception if any input data to that report is untrustworthy, and then go in and that's their prompt to take action to improve it on their own without going to our tech support team. They need to be empowered to manage their trustworthy data set themselves. Now, finally, in complex data systems, the same value and all of its downstream values can be optimally stored in multiple storage locations. Sometimes you store it in one place for reporting and in another place for rapid querying via an API, for example, and in a different place for rapid data streaming. Internal consistency builds data trust. Internal inconsistency destroys data trust. If users access a data point in one way on one database, they should get the exact same value as if they access it in a different way, in a different database. The API has to agree with the UI. And if a value gets updated, we have to manage that. We have to manage that that same value gets updated in all derivative locations, all downstream locations, and do so automatically. Data trust is also sometimes about giving visibility of that process to highly technical users. Where does a reprocess sit? How long is it taking? And what's the estimated time to completion? We want to make this available visually and in the product for our most technical users. We want to do that because it's part of the system that our users pay for. It's part of their overall data system that they trust to operate their business. So they deserve to get that same visibility into their system.
How do you know if you have trust?
My recommendation is to poll your users. Ask them, do they trust the data? You can also look for evidence. If you ask them for a report, do they turn it around immediately? Do they link you directly to the data system? Or do they run a bunch of scripts on the side and they do a bunch of Excel manipulation and then get back to you the next day to answer your request? Are they running queries from one database, or are they running queries from multiple databases across different clouds and customer-hosted and vendor-hosted cloud environments? So those types of things can help instruct whether your users actually trust their data. We can also measure trust through usage patterns. Users that trust their data don't go to the trending tool nearly as often as users that don't trust it. They often rely on higher value consolidated reports, insights, dashboards, calculations, and so on, instead of always having to trace things back to the raw data. They can also trust that important information is going to be drawn to them, be identified for them by exception. Users that trust the system more trust that if they leave their desk, they'll be notified by exception when they need to intervene. They trust the computer to handle everything possible through automation. Do you trust Uber to get you to the airport on time? I know I do. We want to build a similarly trustworthy data system, where I trust that the system does everything possible automatically. And if I shouldn't trust anything, it tells me that too.
Thanks, Will. Look forward to seeing you in the next video where we'll talk more about data trust and the 4 principles to consider when building that trust.